You open Google Maps. You tap a route. You follow the voice. You drive. Simple. Or so it seems. Because in that small act, the flick of your thumb, the calm voice guiding you down streets you don't even notice, you become part of something far larger than directions. You've entered the quiet empire of data, a system so vast it no longer just describes the world, it defines it. Google Maps doesn't simply show the planet. It owns its reflection. Every street corner, every shortcut, every blinking blue dot represents more than a journey. It represents ownership, not of land, but of the invisible terrain of information. Over the years, this digital skin wrapped itself around the earth, until the copy became more powerful than the original. You think you're just navigating. But every tap, every search, every hesitation becomes a signal, recorded, analyzed, fed into a network that learns who you are by how you move. Because movement, in this age, is currency. The first step was simple, mapping the world. The second was inevitable, owning its data. When Google acquired a tiny company called Keyhole in 2004, few realized what had really been purchased. Not just satellite imagery. Not just maps. But perspective itself, the ability to dictate how the world is seen from above. And from that height, power shifted quietly. Governments once defined geography. Now, a single corporation edits reality with code. It redraws borders, classifies spaces, and labels existence itself. 1 billion people rely on Google Maps every month. That's 1/7 of the planet moving under the same algorithmic sky. Every turn you take becomes part of a greater pulse, a digital heartbeat made of human routine. When you drive to work, your speed teaches the system where traffic flows. When you stop for coffee, your pause becomes a data point in behavioral prediction. When you search for a gas station, the system logs preference, distance tolerance, and purchasing potential. Each tiny act builds a world model more accurate than any census, any survey, any government record. It doesn't just see you. It understands you. But that understanding isn't neutral. Because when you open maps, you don't just choose a destination, you surrender the power to choose how to get there. You follow instructions. You comply. And each time you comply, the machine learns what works best to make you comply again. That's not guidance. That's conditioning. Psychologists call it spatial dependency, when the human sense of orientation begins to decay, replaced by algorithmic reliance. People who once could navigate by instinct now panic when the app loses signal. Neighborhoods that once thrived on discovery now depend on digital visibility to exist. In the invisible economy, existence is defined by presence, not in reality, but in data. Because what isn't on Google Maps might as well not exist. Businesses rise and fall based on rankings. Neighborhood reputations shift based on Street View imagery. If an algorithm decides a road is faster, traffic reshapes entire cities overnight. Small cafes disappear when marked temporarily closed. Local roads crumble when rerouted out of relevance. The app doesn't just mirror the world, it manipulates it. Behind the soothing voice that tells you to turn left in 200 meters lies an AI trained on billions of human behaviors, constantly optimizing, constantly predicting. It doesn't just know where people are, it knows where they will be. And that insight is worth more than gold. Governments spend billions on traffic systems, urban design, infrastructure models, all of which Google now owns privately, invisibly, and globally. Every API call from a city planner, every route plotted by a logistics company, every update from delivery fleets, all feed back into the same digital engine. It's no longer just technology. It's infrastructure control. The empire of the 21st century isn't built with armies or flags, it's built with data pipelines. And Google Maps is one of its most efficient colonization tools. Economists call it digital colonization, when corporations don't conquer territory, but information about territory. When a nation's roads, boundaries, and population flows are better understood by a private algorithm than by its own government. Entire countries now rely on Google's mapping data for emergency response, postal codes, and urban planning. Many official maps are mere reflections of Google's databases. Change something on the platform, and reality shifts with it. In disputed regions, Google doesn't just show maps, it shows versions. One for one country, another for its neighbor. Two conflicting realities coexisting peacefully, algorithmically, invisibly. That's not cartography. That's controlled perception. And the most chilling part? It feels helpful. You trust the app because it's convenient. You accept every term of service because you want to get there faster. But that convenience hides a transaction, your location for their prediction. The more you move, the more it learns. It learns when you leave home, how long you stay at work, which streets you avoid at night, which stores you revisit. It even knows when you break a pattern, a new coffee shop, a different commute, signals that feed behavioral models used by advertisers, insurance companies, and predictive analytics firms. Every movement becomes metadata. Every pattern becomes a product. And even when you're not using the app, it watches quietly. Wi-Fi scans, Bluetooth beacons, background processes, fragments of presence that create a continuous map of your existence. Google's systems use this passive data to refine maps, verify business activity, and monitor device density, all while you believe you're offline. You're not just using the map. You are the map. The streets you travel form arteries in a living digital organism, a planet-sized brain of movement and intention. The more people move, the smarter it gets. The smarter it gets, the more it directs movement. That feedback loop is control. Because the map no longer follows humanity, humanity follows the map. Delivery companies plan routes by it. Rideshare algorithms depend on it. Logistics systems build their models around it. Governments use it for census corrections. Even militaries integrate its geospatial intelligence. If a server farm in California hiccups, a traffic jam forms in Manila. If an algorithmic update miscalculates, an entire region's economy wobbles. That's how fragile and how powerful this invisible system has become. Yet, despite its enormity, it hides behind simplicity. A clean interface. A blue dot. A friendly voice. The illusion of help conceals the architecture of dependence. And dependence, in the digital age, is the purest form of control. Remember, every time the voice reroutes you, it's testing compliance. Every time you accept the alternate route, it learns your threshold for deviation. Every time you rate a place or leave a review, you train its judgment systems to mimic human perception. At scale, this creates something profound, an algorithmic conscience, shaped by billions of micro-decisions, deciding what places deserve to be seen and what places fade into digital obscurity. And slowly, invisibly, the line between map and territory blurs. Cities begin to optimize themselves for digital visibility, brighter storefronts for street view, cleaner facades for online ratings, bigger signs for satellite imagery. Tourism strategies now revolve around discoverability. Urban development plans cite algorithmic hotspots. Reality bends toward what the algorithm rewards. And the company at the center of it all quietly builds the world's most valuable database, the planet's living, breathing operating system. In the age of data, whoever owns the map owns the movement. And whoever owns the movement owns the mind. Because human behavior, once predicted, can be guided. And guided behavior can be monetized infinitely. Your data fuels more than directions. It powers predictive advertising that changes dynamically based on your route. It informs urban analytics sold to governments. It trains autonomous vehicle systems. It refines drone navigation networks. It feeds AI models used in logistics, policing, and even real estate pricing. You think you're navigating the world. But the world, or rather, the digital version of it, is navigating you. And it does so with the most persuasive tool of all, convenience. Free maps. Free traffic updates. Free street view. But nothing is free. You pay with movement. You pay with memory. You pay with trust. The map learns, evolves, and monetizes, while the user forgets, obeys, and repeats. And slowly, subtly, your autonomy dissolves into the system. Cities depend on it. Companies depend on it. Governments depend on it. And you, the individual, the driver, the explorer, become the smallest yet most essential node in a network too vast to comprehend. You become predictable. And predictability is the currency of control. Because once the map knows your rhythm, it can predict your pause. Once it knows your pause, it can sell your attention. Once it can sell your attention, it can sell your future. That's the invisible economy, a world where geography is monetized not by who owns the land, but by who owns the data describing it. The lines on the map have shifted, from physical borders to algorithmic boundaries. We used to say information is power. Now, location is truth. And truth, as it turns out, is editable. So the next time you open Google Maps, remember, you're not just finding your way. You're confirming their world. The empire doesn't need to be seen to exist. It only needs to be trusted. And you've already trusted it enough to follow its voice. Because the voice sounds calm. Because the screen looks right. Because you believe you're in control. But behind that belief lies the oldest story of power ever told, not through swords or soldiers, but through information. A quiet empire built on roads, movement, and your obedience. You open Google Maps. You follow directions. And somewhere, far from the road you travel, the system watches, learns, and smiles. Because it already knows where you're going.